Your favorite indestructible truck is about to look seriously overpriced, because Chinese pickups are quietly offering the same toughness for way less money. In this video, we're counting down the top 5 most affordable Chinese pickups that basically refuse to die, and number 1 might genuinely annoy you. If you love trucks and hate wasting cash, hit subscribe, drop a like, and let's go. Let's kick this off with a pickup that's been embarrassing big-name trucks in places they really shouldn't be losing. Number 5. Great Wall Poer. If you've ever wondered what happens when China builds its own version of the F-150 playbook but prices it like an entry-level work truck, this is it. The Great Wall Poer, sold as the Cannon or P series depending on where you live, is the pickup that quietly slid into Australia, South Africa, the Middle East, and Latin America and started stealing customers who were convinced they'd never touch a Chinese truck. And it earns a spot on a never breaks down list for one simple reason. This thing has already survived the harshest markets long enough to prove the reliability isn't hype. Walk up to it and you immediately see why it rattles the big names. This is not some compact budget toy. It's a full mid-size body-on-frame ute with the footprint of a Hilux or Ranger. Big chrome or dark finished grille depending on trim, squared wheel arches, tall stance, crisp LED headlights, and that unmistakable "I'm here to work" profile. It looks like it belongs on a mine site or a farm, not just parked outside a grocery store. And in many markets, that's exactly where you'll find it, doing real labor, not lifestyle photo shoots. From the side, the proportions tell the story. Long wheelbase, chunky 18-inch wheels, muscular shoulders, and the kind of ride height that gives you confidence on rough ground. Many trims come with sports bars, side steps, roof rails, and skid plates, so even the road-friendly versions still look ready for a weekend of towing trailers, hauling tools, and climbing dirt tracks. It has the tough stance of a Japanese ute, but with just a hint of SUV polish that makes it look more modern. Open the door and the surprise hits instantly. The cabin feels far closer to an SUV than a bargain pickup. Depending on the market, you'll find leather-accented seats, electric adjustments, heating and ventilation, dual-zone climate control, and even massage functions on top trims. The center stack is dominated by a big touchscreen, 9 inches on early models, but moving to massive 12+ inch units and a digital cluster on the Alpha variants. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, a 360-degree camera, and wireless connectivity all make it feel like a smart gadget, not a basic work tool. But the real flex is how comfortable the Poer feels over long days. 5 adults fit easily, with rear legroom surprisingly generous for a dual cab. The seats are wide and shaped for long trips, and the cabin layout is intuitive. Big steering wheel, chunky gear selector, clear graphics, and physical controls where they matter. It's the kind of truck where you can drop your kids at school, head straight to a construction site, and then take it out for dinner without feeling beat up. Practicality is exactly where a buy-it-once, drive-it-forever truck needs to shine, and the Poer nails that. The tub has the width and depth to haul serious gear, and the payload sits around, certain the 1,000+ kilogram mark, depending on spec, right in line with the Japanese competition. Towing goes up to around 3,000 to 3,500 kilograms braked in markets like Australia and New Zealand, meaning it can pull boats, trailers, equipment, and caravans without sweating. And because you can get it with part-time or full-time 4x4, low range, and diff locks, it's not just a city cruiser. Farms, mines, and rural work crews actually use these. That's the biggest reliability endorsement money can't buy. And here's the part that stings for rivals: value. In China, this thing launched around the equivalent of $17,000 to $23,000. Even in Australia, where everything costs more, the Cannon undercuts the Hilux and Ranger by thousands, yet gives you leather, big screens, 360 camera tech, adaptive cruise, lane keeping, and blind spot monitoring. You're getting mid-spec Japanese money for top-spec features. Reliability signals are strong too. A 7-year unlimited kilometer warranty in ANZ, fleet use in Africa and the Middle East, and a 5-star ANCAP safety score in many trims. The usual concerns, resale, brand recognition, still pop up, but there's no evidence of widespread mechanical failures. If anything, reviewers keep repeating the same line: way better built than expected. And if that made your favorite pickup look overpriced, the next one turns that discomfort into a full-blown identity crisis. Number 4. Maxus T60. If you've ever wondered how a budget Chinese ute ended up towing boats, hauling tradie gear, and surviving job sites right alongside Hiluxes and Rangers, the answer is this truck. The Maxus T60 didn't explode onto the scene with flashy marketing or macho heritage. It just quietly showed up with full-time 4x4, more torque than some bigger engined rivals, and a price tag that makes accountants grin. And that's exactly why it belongs in a list of pickups that almost never break down, because fleets, small businesses, and rural owners keep buying them not for style points, but because they simply work. From the outside, the T60 looks like the kind of honest, old-school workhorse that doesn't pretend to be a lifestyle toy. No wild design experiments, no exaggerated tough guy theatrics, just a modern mid-size dual cab with a tall stance, a bold hexagonal grille, and clean LED headlights. The body proportions sit right in the Hilux/Ranger zone, with sculpted wheel arches and 17 to 19-inch alloys, giving it solid road presence without trying to peacock. It's not trying to outmuscle American trucks or outshine Japanese rivals. It looks like a ute that clocks in early and goes home late. Walk along the side and you get that familiar one-ton ute silhouette. Long tray, upright cabin, and enough ground clearance for rough work sites. The design won't win design awards, but that's exactly the point. This platform is built to be repaired easily, driven hard, and used like the tool it is. And that tool identity is what makes it dependable. A truck that doesn't rely on fragile plastic flare or delicate creases is a truck that ages well. Step inside and you realize Maxus didn't cut corners where it actually affects your day. The cabin follows a simple, straightforward layout that feels closer to a practical SUV than a stripped-down work truck. You get a big 10.2 5-inch touchscreen on newer models with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and sometimes built-in navigation. The gauge cluster ranges from fully digital to semi-digital depending on trim, but all versions give you clear information without clutter. The seats come in cloth or synthetic leather, and higher trims even offer heated fronts, which is something many Japanese base models still skip. Dual-zone climate control, a chunky steering wheel, keyless entry, rear parking sensors, and a 360-degree camera on some variants add to the budget price premium experience vibe. Insulation is surprisingly decent for a work ute. You can have a full conversation at highway speeds without yelling. Rear space is solid, easily fitting 5 adults with room for work boots. For families, that means school runs won't feel cramped. For tradies, it means the whole crew fits without knees touching the back of the seats. It strikes that rare balance between job-ready and family-usable. Fuel economy sits comfortably in the 8 to 9 liters per 100 kilometers range in Aussie testing, which is right on par for loaded dual cabs. And here's the quiet confidence signal. Maxus backs this thing with a 7-year, 200,000 kilometer warranty in many markets. That's not something you offer if you think your truck is going to fall apart after 2 years of job site abuse. Safety has caught up too. Newer T60 Max variants now meet modern 5-star test requirements when fitted with AEB, lane departure warning, and updated ADAS. It's not bare bones anymore. It checks off the safety tech that buyers expect without inflating the price. And that leads to the part that really hurts competitors, the value. In Australia, you can often drive away in a brand new 4x4 T60 for around 41 grand, or even less during promotions. That kind of money barely gets you into a mid-spec Japanese ute, and those usually come with cloth seats, basic infotainment, and less torque. Here, you're getting leather upholstery, heated seats, a big screen, strong towing, and a dual cab interior your family won't complain about. Of course, the usual hesitations still pop up: resale value, Chinese badge, brand recognition. But talk to the small businesses, farmers, and tradies who actually run these things. Many say the same thing: it does the job, costs less, and doesn't give me grief. And when a budget truck starts showing up on real work sites instead of just city streets, that reputation spreads fast. And if you thought the T60 was the budget disruptor, the next pickup exposes just how inflated Western truck pricing has become. Number 3. JAC T8 Pro. If there's one pickup in this list that'll make you rethink how much a capable truck actually needs to cost, it's this one. The JAC T8 Pro is the wild card nobody pays attention to until they realize it's a full-size, turbo diesel, 4x4 double cab that sells from around $20,000 out of China and still manages to survive rough roads, long trips, and daily work duties without falling apart. It's the truck your wallet hopes you never discover, because suddenly that expensive badge on your driveway starts looking unnecessary. What makes the T8 Pro interesting is how quietly it's spreading across South Africa, Latin America, the Philippines, and a dozen other markets. It's not the truck with viral ads or massive fanboys. It's the truck people buy because they need something dependable on a tight budget, and then keep because it simply keeps doing the job. And when owners in developing markets call it a quality vehicle at an affordable price, that's usually the kind of honesty you only hear when a product genuinely holds up. From the outside, the T8 Pro has that classic double cab stance you instantly recognize. About 5.3 meters long, just under 1.9 wide, and riding high with around 220 millimeters of ground clearance, it stands shoulder to shoulder with mainstream utes. The big hexagonal grille framed in chrome gives the front end a bold, slightly old-school toughness, flanked by projector headlights and LED daytime running lights on higher trims. The bumper looks muscular with integrated fog lamps and a skid plate style trim that gives it the vibe of of an honest workhorse trying to dress a little sharper. Walk down the side and you get that proper lifestyle-ready silhouette. Side steps, a clean shoulder line, and chunky 18-inch alloy wheels that fill the arches without pretending to be something extreme. It looks like a blend of older Hilux cues mixed with the more modern Chinese SUV design language. Familiar enough to trust, different enough to notice. And the rear keeps things simple. A straightforward tailgate, vertical taillights, and a built-in step so you don't have to climb like a gymnast just to reach your gear. Open the door and the interior is more modern than you'd expect for a budget pickup. The dashboard stands upright with a central stack that places a large touchscreen right where your eyes naturally fall. In many markets, you get about a 9-inch display with Bluetooth and smartphone connectivity, and some regions even offer Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. The materials mix hard plastics with soft touch pads where your elbows land, and higher trims offer leather or leatherette seats that look far more expensive than the truck's price suggests. The seats themselves are one of the T8 Pro's unexpected strengths. Owner reviews praise the comfort on long drives, which isn't something cheap pickups are usually known for. Many budget trucks feel like they've swapped cushions for concrete slabs, but this one manages to stay compliant and supportive whether you're crawling through traffic or covering long highway stretches. The steering wheel has the controls you'd expect. Climate control ranges from manual to automatic depending on the market, and everything feels laid out for practical daily use rather than bragging rights. The back row fits 5 adults surprisingly well, with supportive cushions and enough legroom that your passengers won't hate you after a long ride. And the load bed, around 1810 by 1520 by 470 millimeters, offers real usability. That's camping gear, work tools, motorcycles, lumber, or a weekend's worth of outdoor toys without a struggle. With a payload around 900 kilos and up to 2 tons of braked towing in many markets, it's not built to dethrone the 3.5-ton giants, but it handles the kind of real-life tasks most people actually do. Off-road, the T8 Pro holds its own. Low-range 4-wheel drive, approach and departure angles around 20+ degrees, and that healthy ground clearance mean it can handle farm tracks, rural roads, construction sites, and moderate trails without crying for help. It's not a rock crawler, but it's absolutely a go-anywhere daily truck. Under the hood, the T8 Pro usually carries a 2.0-liter turbo diesel pushing around 104 kilowatts and 320 newton meters. It's not a torque monster, but the power delivery is steady, predictable, and low stress, the kind of setup that favors longevity over bragging rights. You can get it with a 6-speed manual or automatic depending on region, and it all sits on a classic ladder frame chassis with double wishbones in front and leaf springs in the rear. In other words, simple mechanics that any rural shop can understand. Now for the part that really stings rivals. The price. Export listings show 4-wheel drive double cabs going for $17,000 to $21,000. That's what some Americans pay for a used Tacoma with 2 previous owners and a cracked dashboard. Here, you're getting a brand new truck, with many markets offering a 5-year, 100,000-kilometer warranty and service plans. Cheap doesn't mean unsupported here. Sure, it doesn't have the full ADAS suite of more expensive Chinese utes. Safety gear is basic. Airbags, ABS, EBD, ESP, parking sensors, and a reversing camera. But for a truck in this price bracket, it's still hitting the essentials. And the fact that it's gaining traction in regulated markets means it's passing more safety and quality filters than people assume. And if you felt a little jealous of that spec sheet, the next one might make you rethink your loyalty altogether. Number 2. Foton Tunland G7. If you want a pickup that absolutely does not care about prestige, chrome, or who's watching, this is the one. The Foton Tunland G7 is the truck that shows up in places where roads end, heat melts weak cars, and dust kills electronics. It's the pickup that works in rural Africa long before anyone on YouTube even learns its name. And in a never breaks down list, nothing hits harder than a machine built for people who don't have the luxury of calling roadside assistance. What makes the G7 so brutal is how deliberately it targets markets that punish vehicles. South Africa isn't the place where you bring a delicate lifestyle ute. It's where you send trucks that must survive farms, mines, construction sites, and 1,000-kilometer stretches of uneven tarmac. And that's exactly why this thing belongs here. It undercuts the Hilux and Ranger on price, offers proper 4-wheel drive and real towing muscle, and still comes backed with a long warranty and service plan. Cheap doesn't mean weak here. Cheap means no nonsense. Look at the front and you instantly get the vibe. A big upright grille with thick horizontal chrome bars and a huge Foton badge sits proudly in the center. Projector headlights and LED DRLs frame the face on higher trims, but the whole look is more I'm here to work than I'm here to pose. The bumper is chunky, square-shouldered, and ready to take hits. Everything about the front end feels built to push through dust, grass, grass, mud, and whatever else rural roads want to throw at you. Move to the side and the stance is pure 1-ton workhorse. Roughly 5.3 meters long and nearly 1.9 wide, it stands right in the same physical footprint as a Hilux or Ranger. You get side steps, muscular arches, and 17 or 18-inch alloys, depending on trim. Nothing flashy, just confident. It's the truck you see pulling trailers full of livestock, carrying tools across scattered farms, or bouncing through red African dirt without blinking. Inside is where things get interesting because the G7 doesn't pretend to be a luxury SUV. The cabin is functional, with plenty of hard plastics and a rugged layout, but it's still much more modern than older Tunland generations. You get a 10.25-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in South African spec, so even though this truck is built for harsh environments, it still gives you the modern basics your daily life expects. The seats are leather trimmed on higher trims, and the driver gets manual or electric adjustment depending on variant. But the key here isn't luxury, it's durability. This is the kind of interior you don't cry over if the kids track mud in, or if dust blows through the windows on the highway, or if your work gear scuffs the door cards. Everything is designed to shrug off abuse, and that's why it aligns perfectly with the never breaks down story. Fancy trucks get nervous when dirt touches them. This one feels like it belongs in it. The practicality numbers back that up. You can seat 5 adults in upright comfort with a commanding driving position that makes long distances easier. The load bed gives you around 1,520 by 1,580 by 440 millimeters of usable space and roughly a 1-ton payload, so you can haul equipment, tools, feed, appliances, whatever life throws at you. And towing between 2,800 and 3,000 kilos means it's not afraid of larger trailers or heavier work. Off-road, the G7 keeps the momentum going. The ladder frame chassis is old-school tough, paired with a coil and leaf spring setup that's tuned for rough terrain. You get selectable 4-wheel drive with low range, and certain variants even include a rear diff lock. That combination is exactly what you want when your daily drive involves washboard roads, deep ruts, and sudden downpours turning everything into clay. This truck is engineered for markets where roads are more suggestion than reality. Under the hood, you'll usually find a 2-liter turbo diesel making around 120 kilowatts and 390 newton meters, paired to an 8-speed automatic. It's not a drag strip number, but that's not the point. It's about reliable torque, predictable performance, and an engine that won't cook itself in tough climates. Everything is meant to be repairable, serviceable, and reliable enough to earn its place in fleets and commercial environments. And then comes the sting for the big-name brands: value. South African pricing consistently undercuts equivalent Hilux and Ranger models by a big margin. You're paying noticeably less for a truck that still gives you real 4-wheel drive, serious towing, and thousands of kilometers of rugged assurance. Add a 5-year, 200,000-kilometer warranty and a service plan in some markets, and suddenly the G7 stops feeling like a gamble and starts feeling like a smart, calculated purchase. If that truck felt unstoppable, the next one feels like it pulled every single weak point out of the equation. Number 1. Geely Radar King Kong EV Pickup. If you want the purest definition of a never-breakdown truck of the future, this is it. The Geely Radar King Kong EV is the kind of pickup that makes diesel utes look ancient the moment you hear the price. $13,000 for a brand new electric double cab work truck. That alone already punches every gas pickup's ego in the throat. But the real shock is that this thing is built to run almost forever, with almost nothing inside it that can actually fail. What makes the King Kong so dangerous to the status quo is how deliberately simple it is. This isn't some flashy electric lifestyle showpiece with a glass roof and mood lighting. It's a mainstream working EV designed for deliveries, farms, government fleets, and small businesses who are tired of fueling big engines. And because it's electric, you remove most of the failure points that plague traditional pickups. No oil, no belts, no gearbox full of parts waiting to explode. Geely even backs the main electric components with lifetime coverage in China, which is their way of saying, go ahead, try to break it. From the outside, it looks clean and modern in a way that feels intentional, not trendy. There's no grille because it doesn't need one, just a smooth front panel with slim LED headlights that immediately tell you it's electric. The proportions match a mid-size pickup, about 5.2 meters long and roughly as wide and tall as a Ranger, so it still looks familiar on the road. The profile is boxy but functional, with simple surfacing and integrated side steps that remind you this is a tool first, not a fashion accessory. The rear keeps things straightforward with a normal tailgate and LED lighting, sometimes with a full-width bar depending on trim. Step inside and it feels more like an SUV than a budget work truck. Test drives out of China mention how quiet it is, how comfortable the seating position feels, and how surprisingly refined the cabin is compared to diesel pickups. You get a large central touchscreen. Some markets list around 12 or 13 inches, and it handles all the EV functions, navigation, charging info, and connectivity. The 5-seat cabin has real space in the back, with enough legroom to use it as a family hauler during the week and a work truck on weekends. The noise isolation alone puts it ahead of many cheap ICE pickups because the motor is nearly silent. On the job, the King Kong behaves like a normal truck, just without the drama. The long bed versions come with dimensions similar to other mid-size work pickups, and capacity depends on the specific variant, but the idea is simple. It's a real bed meant for real cargo. And here's where the EV advantage hits even harder. Chinese testing shows running costs around 5 cents of electricity per kilometer. That's over 90% cheaper than burning diesel. Over 3 years, owners save the equivalent of thousands of dollars compared to fuel pickups. And because maintenance is basically check the brakes and keep driving, it's almost cheating. Power comes from different single motor setups depending on the pack, but one common spec is a 63 kilowatt-hour version with a 180 kilowatt motor and 309 newton meters. It hits 60 kilometers per hour in about 8 seconds and can go up to 430 kilometers on the CLTC cycle. Higher trims push up to 280 kilowatts and 485 newton meters, with 0 to 100 in under 8 seconds, even when carrying weight. For a work pickup, that's more than enough muscle. Battery packs range from about 42 to 86 kilowatt hours, with total ranges up to around 600 kilometers, depending on configuration. And because all of this sits on Geely's SEA platform, the same architecture shared across multiple EV lines, the truck has a flat floor, a low center of gravity, and the benefit of a giant company's manufacturing scale instead of some small startup figuring things out on the fly. That alone boosts long-term confidence. Now here's the painful part for rivals. The pricing, 99,800 yuan at launch in China, around 13,700 US dollars. Some exporters even quote numbers under 15,000 FOB. That means an electric pickup with SUV comfort, real bed space, and stupidly low running costs costs less than a Corolla in many countries. If this ever sold in the US at anywhere near that price, base F-150s would need therapy. Safety gear varies by trim, but you get the usual modern essentials: airbags, stability control, and the kind of EV-specific engineering that simplifies your life. And that lifetime EV system warranty in China makes the never breaks down part feel less like clickbait and more like the actual business model. Before you go, drop a like if these trucks surprised you, hit subscribe for more eye-opening Chinese car deep dives, and tell me in the comments, which one would you actually trust as your daily workhorse, and which brand should we expose next?